Hi everybody, this is an instructional video to show you how to set up and play 4XL. The setup for 4XL is pretty simple. We start with 20 rogue cubes in the top left corner of the board. Then we put these resource cards in a shuffle deck right over here. That constitutes the market. We'll leave one space for the event card and then another space for the discard pile, and the next deck is the Lux, which constitutes the bank. This is the money in the game. Alright, we're going to leave one space to discard cards from the bank, and then we're going to put the mission cards shuffled over here, and finally the anomalies right over here. Okay. Once we've done that, we're going to choose a game difficulty. There are beginner, easy, normal, and hard. And let's start with the easy one. This card is basically put underneath the bank. Alright, the other cards are set aside for later. The next step is we set up the galaxy. The galaxy are made of these 6 chevron shaped tiles, and there are certain rules for placement, which are the new tile that you place has to have corners, touching corners from tiles that have already been placed. You can never complete a corner. There must always be one free space there, and one tile cannot have more than 2 tiles adjacent to it. So this is okay. Putting one here wouldn't be okay, because now this tile has 1, 2, 3 sides, and that's not okay. I found that this configuration is a really cool configuration to play with. So leave like a big hexagon in the middle if you want to. You don't have to, but it works really well. Okay. Once you've done this, if you're playing 4XL instead of 4XM, you're going to be adding anomalies face down at the corners of the map. These corners can be here or here, but I like to put them just like that. So once we've done that, we skip over to the rogue, and we're going to start to, oh, before we do that, we need to flip over the tiles. So be careful when you flip the tile over to have it take up the same space that it occupied before you've flipped it over. Righty ho, look at that, beautiful. Okay, we're going to start to populate the rogue, and because we chose the easy difficulty, there will be a total of 4 rogues. So what we do is we draw a card from the market and we immediately discard it. We look at the number here, which is 2, and then we place one of the cubes on 2, and we repeat this 4 times. So there'll be 3, 1, and 3. 3, 1, 3. 3, 1, and 3. The discard pile shows you which cards you can buy during a trade action. So you can always look through this to see what cards are available to purchase. Okay. Basically anything that's face up you can look at. Anything that's face down you can count, but you can't look at, obviously. Okay, next up is your player area. You're going to take the 7 fleet cards. They are A, B, C, D, and there are 2 types. There's influence and technology types. We'll set aside B, C, D technology cards because we'll need those when we upgrade. So we set these up like this. The technology, our current technology is technology level 2, and that affects all the fleets, not just fleet A per se. Okay. And we're then going to draw 6 Lux. And I like to make mine stack like this so I can see, I need one more, so I can see the freight orders. These numbers are origin and destination, so I would have to be at 2, and this red star, to pick this card up, and then travel to 3 over here, where that red star is, to then deliver this cargo. It's good to have them like this. I can spend them as Lux, but also I can see all the orders quite easily. We're also going to draw 6 of these mission cards. And some of these are very similar. For example, I have Mercenary Inc., Mercenary Inc., Mercenary Inc., and another one. So I can group those together. The rewards for those cards might be different, but the missions are all the same. We take a set of dice if you're playing with 4XL, because these are going to be stations that we can build. And then the last thing I need to do is choose my starting system, which will be, to keep it simple, let's go at 2. Okay, and that's the end of setup. Now I'll talk about some of the actions that you can do in this game. There are, for the 4XL, there are 7 main actions. They are deploy, which would be me spending 2 of my Lux that would go onto the discard pile over there, and I would put one of my fleets anywhere on the board, put it face down because I've activated it. That's the deploy action. As your technology increases, instead of paying 2, you would pay 3 and then 4 and then 5 to deploy fleet. So if you upgrade your technology first, it's going to cost more to get your fleets out later on. Actually, I'm just going to put it over here instead. Lovely, okay. Cool. Maybe I'll do one more fleet. I'll put these 2. Spend 2 Lux and put fleet C over here. Okay. The next action is jump, and jump is moving fleets around. I want to jump fleet A to fleet from this central system in tile 2 to the central system in tile 4 because I have some cargo. And I'm just going to load this. This is a free action where you can take Lux from your Lux supply and turn it into freight, which you load onto a fleet, providing that the origin of the card is the same number and you're at the central system of that tile. All right, but I'll go through the free actions later on. So now I want to jump, and my technology tells me that I can jump for free, and I can jump one more time if I pay Lux or if I pay carbon. And the number of jumps that I can do right now are 2, the first one being free. As I increase my technology, that increases 2. So I'm just going to take one jump, and as I do, I flip the fleet marker over, and now all my fleet markers are face down. I don't have any more money to deploy another one, so I'm just going to end my turn here, and to indicate that, I turn the fleet markers face up, and now I'm going to let the rogue take their turn. So when you do the rogue's turn, you draw the top card from the market and you put it here, which is the event. If you're playing 4XL, you read this text here. It says gain 1 Lux or 2 Lux if you have less than 4 fleets in the galaxy. As it happens, I only have 3, so I have less than 4 fleets, so I would take 2 Lux. And that's good because I was kind of short. Oh, that's quite good too. This 4-5 is going to help me later on. When I get from 2 to 4, I can then pick up 4 to 5 and sort of deliver that on the way. So I'm sort of planning my routes here. The other thing that happens when we do the rogue's turn is these two letters. There's E and M. There's also S. You'll see there's an S there. The E stands for engage, and the M stands for move, and the S stands for spawn. Then we sort of look at this number here, which is 3, and that sort of ties the rogue action to this tile here. Had there been one of my fleet markers here, an engage would occur. But because the rogue were on their own, as it were, they don't engage, and instead they move. And they always move towards the nearest fleet, which is C. So they'll just go this way. When there are two letters that are different, you'll do the first possible action. When both letters are the same, you do that action twice. At the moment, the only example of that is SS, so 2 fleet would spawn somewhere. And that can always happen because if these run out and you can't spawn any more rogues, the game has ended. So we've done deploy, which is putting your fleets out. We've done move, which is what A did, moving to there. And then we've reset the end of our turn, and then the rogue took their turn, and something happened which is beneficial. This is an effect, and then the rogue action took place here. Now it's back to my turn. So I'm going to just jump A and show you another free action that you can do, which is transfer. So A is going to jump to B, and B is now going to pick up the cargo that A has by simply sliding it along from the cargo from A to the cargo in B, and then B can take their jump. I'm going to flip A over because they've done their jump. B wants to go... Oh, B has now arrived at the destination. So we can do the third free action, which is deliver. The first one was load. The one we just talked here was transfer, where we moved cards from one side to from one fleet to another. And now that B has arrived with freight that is destined to 4, we can now deliver. This is a free action. I'm going to flip this token over just to remind us that we've done that too. So 2 to 4, we look at the distance in terms of number of jumps, 1, 2, 3, and we would discard this. Remember, it came from our luck supply, so we gained 3 lux, but it actually cost us 1 lux to load. So whenever you are delivering freight, more than 1 jump line is more effective. Okay, so now we see here that at 4, Fleet B can also pick up this. And now that we have a little bit of money, we can continue to jump because our technology allows us to jump up to 2 jumps. We'll spend this one because I don't think we'll be going back this way, and then move that further. We can then transfer again from Fleet B to Fleet C and have Fleet C take their turn and jump to 5. And then we can deliver this one, which is 4 to 5, which is 2 lux. So we'll put that there. We'll draw 2 lux and put it in our stash, hoping that we would find maybe a 5-3 because that's where we're destined to go. Unfortunately, we didn't find any 5-3s. And that's the jump. Let's put one more fleet out using the deploy action again, which is, let's not overthink this too much. We're not at 2, so we can get rid of these for now. And so yes, we'll spend 2 lux to get our last fleet out, and we can put that, let's say we're planning to go to 3, so maybe here is a good idea. We have to bear in mind that there is going to be an event happening at 3. And I'll just show how that works. Now that we've done all our actions, we put the fleet markers face up, we discard the event card on top of the discard pile, and that gives us a number 3, so we could sort of predict where something is going to happen. We draw a new card, and it says, first of all, no main action may take place if there are more local rogues than planets. So here, if we were stuck here, where there are 2 rogues but only 1 planet, we wouldn't be able to do any main actions, which is bad. So far that's not the case, so okay. Then the EM, so engage or move, there's nothing to engage with here, so the rogue move towards us. Now that's not very good. Considering that, we can see that the next rogue action will also take place on tile number 3, which is where we are here. Okay. So just for a bit of variety, we're going to look at some different actions. Let's say A wants to, let's say A wants to trade. And A wants to trade, and it can buy resources from the discard pile. Whether they are here or not doesn't matter. What this does, how this does matter is it tells us how much stuff costs. So when you buy stuff that is visibly here, for example silica or carbon, you would pay 1 lux, flip it over, and we would gain 2 silica. Now right now there's 1 silica here, so we can definitely take this, and this would go into cargo, just like that. We can then see that there's another silica there, and that would complete our trade. And that is 1 trade. Now, if there were more silica to be bought, we couldn't just keep paying to keep buying silica, or pay to buy some other resource. You can only buy 1 type of resource. Let's say C here wants to buy metal, right? And there's no metal here. This means that this commodity, this resource, is rare. So basically you would need to pay 2 lux to gain just 1 metal. So usually it's 1 lux for whatever you get, but if it's not available and you really want to buy it, you can pay 2 to get 1 lux. So it's like a rare resource, it's more expensive. I know that carbon is going to be on the market later on, but maybe I was actually really trying to buy the market down so I could get to the metal that's hiding there. And I have fleet B here on a metal, on a system with a metal planet. So B is also going to trade. In this case, metal is available, so they'll pay 1 lux and take 1 metal, and this would go into cargo. Now the cargo is limited in terms of number of cards by this number. Your technology is 2, so we can have 2 cards. And it doesn't matter what the value of these cards are or the type of card they are, you can only have 2. Likewise, for service cards, you can only have 2 service cards. The only exception is trophies over here. They do not count towards your card limit when you're counting service cards in your fleets. Okay, speaking of service cards in your fleet, let's do that now. So talking about service cards in your fleet, C for some reason is maybe gonna want some defense before it moves into a territory with rogues, so they're going to acquire some cards, or maybe D will do that because D is already there. So it's going to spend 1, we have 1 lux to spend, and we're going to draw cards from the market, which is just over there, and we're going to look at the influence we have. The influence we have goes down as your technology increases, as you upgrade. So the earlier you do this, the more choices you have. But the thing is, that also makes the deck run down faster. Because when this deck of card is depleted, the game ends. Now we've drawn 3 cards, and we can see that there are 2 hulls and 1 science card. I think we're going to take the high value fighters card, and this is the only one we can buy because we only have 1 lux. We would have loved to buy this one as well, but we can't. So D is going to pay 1 lux. We're going to flip the token over to say we've taken an action with that. That's going to slip into there, And now we have some firepower should we be attacked. These two cards get removed from the game. Okay, that's the acquire action. Just to review, we've done the deploy where you put fleets out. We've done the jump where fleets jump around. And we're running low on money, so we could show you now. Oh, yes, we did the trade as well where we bought resources, but we're running low on money, so we could do an action called a recharge, which is simply where you flip over one of these tokens and you get 1 lux. The other thing that happens when you recharge is should you have service cards that have been activated for one reason or another, and you take the recharge action, as well as taking 1 lux from the bank, you would also ready any cards that have been previously activated. So it has a double function. It's the money, lux that you get, and you get to ready any cards, all of the cards in that fleet. So now we've taken an action with all of these. We really want to, well, hope to get lucky and not have any trouble in the system where D is, but let's find out. So we will flip over our fleet markers face up to show that we've ended our turn, and now we're going to discard the event card, and that tells us that something's going to happen in tile number 3, and luckily for us it is not an engage. It's a spawn, and that happens twice because both of those letters are the same. When rogues spawn in a system, it's always a central system. There's a lot of activity happening in the central system. Well, we can now purchase some carbon, and I think we need to do that somewhere where we have 2 fleets together. Let's just say that these 2 fleets were together. Lovely. Well, actually, let's put them over here. This will give us an example of what's going on. And B wants to... Sorry, I'll take that back. Let's say A and B were together because they have certain resources that will become meaningful in a second. Let's say B wants to trade, spend 1 lux, and they buy. You can either buy metal or carbon, but the only thing available at the moment is carbon. So we'll take that and we'll put that in the cargo of B. And now we have, well, 2 silica, 1 metal, and 2 carbon, all in the same system. This is shared between 2 fleets, but essentially all of these resources are available to do any action you want to pay for. Which brings us to the next action, upgrade. So A is going to say, well, let's spend this silica and this metal and this carbon, and let's take all of this and remove it from the game, which will just go over there somewhere. And that is now going to give us an upgrade in our technology, which means we replace this card. I guess in a future game it'll be double-sided and you just flip it over, but for now you replace that card with this card, and now this tells us that we are at technology 3. We can jump 1, 2, 3 times. Each time you jump, you basically pay either 1 lux or 1 carbon. And if you want to jump 2 times more, you pay 2 lux or 2 carbon. So that's great. But our cargo capacity has increased as well, and also the service card capacity has increased as well, and also the number of service cards that we can send into an attack has increased by 1. So now we can send 3 of those. But we'll talk about attack later. Let's say D and C have not taken their turn yet. We can now maybe jump C to D and transfer this over here. We can also transfer service cards providing they are ready, and C will stay with the rogue over there, and D will take the cargo onwards towards the destination, which is 3. And that'll give us a little bit of money. In fact, it would give us whatever the shortest distance is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, even though we went this way, which is a little bit longer, it'll give us 5 lux because that's the shortest possible distance. Counting 1 lux per jump line from the origin to the destination. the last action that I've not talked about is build, and I'll flip these over to say we've finished our turn. The rogue is going to take their turn. We discard the current event card. We draw a new one. Oh, I didn't read this last time, did I? This is quite good. The last event that took place was spawning 2 rogues in 3 here. But what the card says that I sort of missed, this is discard 1 market card. In that case, this would have happened, and the spawn from here, you would discard 1 card to there, and the rogue would have spawned not in 3, but in a completely unsuspected sort of a surprise location, and that would be 4. So we'll just leave it like that. Oops. Then we've done our turn, and now it's the rogue's turn again. Sorry, I missed that. Again, this one says discard 1 market card. So we sort of know what might happen, so where it might happen, but sometimes these discard a market card changes the target tile. And now we have move or spawn in 2. Okay. Had there not been a cube here, nothing would have been able to move, so we would have spawned 1. But since there are cubes there, it's going to try and move towards the closest fleet, which is this one. If we look here, 1, 2, 3, 4 is longer than 1, 2, 3, so the shortest distance would be this way. Okay. Also note that when rogues are in systems which belong to 2 tiles, 1 and 2 in this case, if either of those target tiles come up, it would activate cubes that occupy systems that refer to 2 tiles. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so just to fudge and sort of explain this a little bit better, I'm going to sort of fudge that a little bit so that we can see how to do the last action, which is build a station. Okay, so A and B are in the same system, and this is helpful because one of them can, well, let's say D finally jumps over there and gets to unload their 2 to 3 freight order. That gets discarded. We know that the distance is 5, so we're going to get some lux. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's to show how much money we have. And now B wants to trade to buy the metal that's just become available, and we're going to spend 1 lux because we can see the metal is available, and there's 1 to be taken, so we would take that, and that would go in either B or A's cargo. It doesn't matter because essentially these 2 fleets are in the same system, so they're working together and they can share cargo as such. Now A is going to do the last action that we've not explained, which is build, and build is you're building a station. Stations are represented by your dice. When you build a station, it's always level 1. And whenever you build or improve a station, you pay metal equal to the level you're building to. So A is going to build. We use the metal from somewhere in that system. It could be fleet B, or it could be maybe a station that's already built. And we're going to remove that from the game and build ourselves 1 station. Stations are important in 2 ways. First of all, they give you a discount for whatever planet you built them on. Bear in mind that you can't change a station once it's on a system, on a planet. And also they provide defense if you were to be attacked. You're attacked by the rogue, and they will always attack the lowest station at that system, as well as your fleet. So your stations can provide defensive support. And the value that you take into account there is the dice multiplied by itself. So in this case, not a lot of defense. 1 times 1 is 1. Let's say on a future turn, we use one of the fleets to improve this station and we build it up to level 2. We would have to pay 2 metal to do that. But in this case, because this station is on a metal planet and that covers one of the metal costs, we only need to pay 1 metal cost from the fleets. In this case, the station at level 2 will provide 4 attack value. We can then increase it to 3 by paying 3 metal, except we don't need to pay 3 because the station itself gives us a discount. Great. So now we'll have 3 times 3, 9 defense value. So that's better. You can build a station up to level 4, but the important thing is to build it to level 3, because the way you gain points in this game, and as a solo game you need to get 10 points to win, are in the following ways. You can get a point by building a station at level 3. You can get a point by upgrading. As you can see, you already start with 1 point. You can get 4 points from upgrading your technology. You can get up to 4 points if you build, which would be quite difficult, stations at level 3 or higher. That's another way to get points. If you were to attack the rogue and remove 3 or more of them in an attack, you would get a trophy. That would be added to your fleet as such. Yeah? The other way to gain points is to complete your rewards. Complete your missions, and they'll give you rewards. So missions, rewards, and they would go in your fleet. Note that if you were to have your fleet engaged and maybe destroyed, or you'd have to abandon your fleet, you'd also lose the points that you'd acquired and stacked in that fleet. Another way to gain points is to complete anomalies. Anomalies are these cards over here that we tucked in earlier. As a free action, you can explore anomalies, and then based on the card we'd add a certain number of rogues, and should those rogues be removed, in this case 3 is great, because not only would you get a trophy for removing 3 rogues one way or another, you would also have the option to get a relic from this anomaly, and that would also slide into your service area of the fleet that was there. So in this case it would be D. Again, there's a limit to the number of cards you can have on the top. Trophies don't count towards this limit. But from the missions, you'd see that every reward has the option to remove the card to gain a trophy instead. So you can lose the ability but keep the point. And that in that way, the trophy don't clog up the service area. You can have those and more cards as well. Completing missions is also free action, and the cards that you have here, you can activate them. That's also a free action. The other way you can gain points is by, we've got upgrading, completing missions, completing anomalies, removing 3 rogues to gain a trophy, and stations. Those are the 5 ways. So one more time: technology, missions, anomalies. Oh, sorry, did I say that wrong? Technology, anomalies, missions, trophies, and stations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll talk about the free actions briefly, although we've done so already. One of them is to, let's say we're over here, is to load, where we put freight orders from matching the origin to the location where your fleet is, if it's in the central system. And then the other one is transfer, where you move cards from one fleet to another, providing they're in the same system. The other one is deliver. When you arrive at the destination, you can unload your cargo and get paid for it. The other free action is complete, where you're completing missions. Explore, where you flip these cards over to see what you've found. Use, you can use certain cards. Some of them say activate, which is when you rotate them as such, and use this ability here. Others say in service, which means that that ability is permanently available to you. Others say remove, and it allows you to do something instead, and then this card will be removed from the game. So you can use those cards in those ways, as well as in an attack. So attack is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Attack is also a free action, which means you can move and attack, or you can attack and then move, or you can move, attack, and then move, because you're able to move more than once, even with your basic technology 2. And attack considers a few things. In this case, it would consider the number of rogues there. Let's say there were 2, and you take the free action attack. In this case, you're the attacker. You've gone to the rogue. The station is where you came from, so the station doesn't factor into your attack value, because you've set off from your station, headed out towards the rogue, and you've gone to meet them far away from the station. But the number of rogue does matter. The first thing that you do during an attack is you build the rogue fleet. The rogue fleet, the rogue squad, we need to draw from the market hull cards, those are the yellow ones, equal to the number of rogue. And as you can see, there's lots of other cards. There's one, great. And we keep drawing, there's another one, great. So that means that now we have 2 of these hull cards. The squad for the rogue is complete. Had we drawn this one, which is a green card, we would also add the value of that card to the other values. There's 2 sides here. There is a short range and long range. As the attacker, we can choose our best range. Let's say we had this going on here. I've just shuffled these cards around, but Fleet A has 1 fighter, and Fleet B has a reward, and another set of fighters. So because they're in the same system, we can pool cards from both of these fleets to create our squad, now that we've seen what we're up against. So the rogue squad has been detected, and now we send our squad out. And I think we'll use the best we can. We look now to declare our range. We're going to go, let's see. So now we've got the squad. We can look at the special abilities. Here, where it says attack, you may exceed all of your white attack values by 2 instead of 1. So exceeding an attack value means that you any white values, you can add a +1 to them, but the card will be removed from the game. You've certainly you've exhausted it completely. But we won't do that, because I don't think we really need to. We have 9 against a possible 6, which is pretty good, or we have a 4 against a 5, so we would lose that. So we're going to go for short range, because we have fighters and they're great. Now we could make this, instead of a 9, you could make it a 10, 11, 12, and lose all the cards, and we have a higher chance of winning. But this is fine as it is. So now we've detected the rogue squad, we've sent our squad, we've done the attack special abilities. We're going to declare the range to be short range, obviously, and now we load weapons, which means that for all of these numbers, the 9 that we have, we're going to set dice aside equal to that number. So there we have our 9 dice. And we're going to roll them. And once we roll them, we'll see how well we did. So the first thing we do is we remove any 1s. So had this been a 1 and had this been a 1, those would be removed. The remaining number of dice is our final attack values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. And we were faced against 6. We just made it. Had we been tied, let's say 6 successful hits and 6, we would have lost. So we need to exceed that. And now that we've done that, we win. And when we win, the following things happen. The cubes that we attacked get removed, and then we look through the wrecks that we've destroyed, of which we can keep 2 of them. And those go into our cargo. They would go in there. If we defeated more than 3 cubes, we would also, 3 or more cubes, we would get a trophy as well. So not a bad loot. We could take, let's say, 2 of these medals. Metal is pretty rare in the game, so we'll definitely steal those. Great. And the rest of the cards, they get shuffled back into the market deck. Let's say we had lost and tied the rogue with 6 attack value. All of these cards would get shuffled back into the market deck. The cubes would remain, and the cards that we used would be removed from the game. But since we won, they return to our fleets. They can return to any of the fleets, but they return activated. So I can actually put them all in here, because we are now at technology 3, so I can have as many trophies as I like and up to 3 service cards. So that would be that. To get these back ready for action on a future turn, because for some reason it's activated, I would have to recharge, which would get me 1 Lux, and it would allow me to ready all of these cards. That's pretty much how you play 4XL. Thanks for watching.